Hello, good morning, students.
Good morning, madam.
Right. So I waited actually because I saw number of student count is increasing. Anyway, so today we are going to start C functions, right? So if I am correct, this is the lecture of again 6 or 7, right? So actually what I want to convey is again same as which I told you yesterday for the matrices and vectors. Here also we need to have the first assignment of this subject, right? So again, so within consecutive weeks, right? Within consecutive weeks, we need to do the assignment, right? So therefore, again, you first of all, you need to pick a date for the vectors and matrices, right? So after that, so the next week, we have to do the first assignment of this particular course as well, right? So therefore, still I didn't get a date from the representatives. So I hope they will quickly give me the response to my request, right? So then again, we need to schedule this as well, because now we have done considerable amount of lectures from this subject as well. So therefore, we need to conduct the first assignment. So here actually multiple assignments are there for this particular subject, because this has practical part included. So as I told you, when you come to the faculty, right, later this month or during the March, all right, definitely we will do some physical practicals in the lab, right? Lab physical practicals අපි කරන්න ඕනේ, right? Because there is a practical component in this subject. So I'm always telling you guys, right, without doing practicals, without doing coding, without interacting with the coding software, you can't learn this subject as full, right? You can learn, it doesn't matter, by reading and all these things you can. But so in order to make you a programmer, right, no need to be a professional programmer, but at least there should be some programming skill with you, right? Otherwise, because this automation, instrumentation and automation degree, right, is a full package of the maths, physics, chemistry, as well as the programming, computer science. So if it is computer science, you know, we are offering some computer science subjects as well. So they are within the computer science syllabus, programming is a must, right? Computer science programming can be must, right? So you should have to have some programming skill. Otherwise, you will be in problem when you are going to do some mini projects, right? Advanced mini projects, and sure when you are going to do your final year project, right? So therefore, that assignment is also coming. So therefore, I'm requesting Samit and Yasara to give me the date as soon as possible. Then we need to, according to that date, I need to schedule this as well, because this week, next week, so during these weeks, all my mid-semester exams are conducting, not for you, for the third years also. So I'm conducting so their mid-semester exam will be on this Friday, right? So therefore, it is essential need to have the date, right? So C functions, right? So what do you mean by C function? C function is a self-contained block of statements that can be executed repeatedly whenever we need it, right? C function is a self-contained block of statements that can be executed repeatedly whenever we need it, right? So what do you mean by C function? They are telling, right, self-contained block of statements, right, that can be executed repeatedly whenever we need it. right? So that means there is some set of statements are there, set of programming statements are there, right? Whenever we need it, we call it, right? We call that particular set of statements and we request to do our own work. And it's like this, very simply I'm telling, right? Let's say there are two numbers, right? You are writing a program, right? Requesting the user to input two numbers through the command prompt. You know that, right? Using the scanf function. Scanf function එක පාවිච්චි කළාට පුළුවන් program එකක් ලියන්න. You can write a program, right? Asking the user, programmer who involved with the computer, asking the user to input two numbers through the command prompt. Command prompt එකේ ඔය user request කරන user ගෙන් numbers දෙකක් input කරන්න. So then as a result, after they have entered the two numbers, what your program is going to do is your program will add these two numbers and display the addition or the summation of these two numbers to the user back. It's like a simple calculator for the addition, right? So in order to do this, the thing called addition, right? So we are writing our own function, right? We are writing a function to add two numbers, right? So assume that you are writing this particular code to add not a numbers inputted by a one single user. You add this program for a whole batch or a whole class. Assume that there are hundreds of students are in a class. So whenever each of the students input two numbers, you need to calculate the summation and show it off, right? That is the procedure, right? So 100 times, since there are 100 students are in the classroom, so you need to execute your program 100 times, right? So for that, right? So for that, what you are going to do is you are calling this particular addition function. So that's why can be executed repeatedly whenever we need it. Whenever a student comes and input his numbers, you need to show his or her addition, right? So that is the ultimate goal. So very simple example, right? So next thing, benefits of using this function in C, right? Benefits of using the function in C. Again, I'm telling, printf, again, scanf, those are also functions, right? They are predefined function. I think you can remember two types of functions are there. There are predefined functions in the C, right? Predefined which functions, C that is already defined. Printf for print something. Printf function is for, so whenever you write printf and within round brackets you write what you want to print, right? So that is also a function, right? You call printf function, printf function to print something, right? What about the scanf? That is also a function, right? Scanf. So you want scanf in order to request inputs from the user through the command prompt, right? So that is also a function, predefined function. Defined function, that is already there. So I think you can remember whenever we are writing a program, at the very beginning of the program, we are writing #include stdi.h, the header file. So why we need to insert that header file? Because without using those header file, if we mention printf and scanf within our program, the program does not remember. So that means almost all the declarations and almost all the definition, what do you mean by printf, what do you mean by scanf, every detail is declared, is mentioned within that stdi.header file. So that is why, so normally before starting our C code, we are mentioning that header file because it contains every information regarding printf and scanf and many other more, right? So those are predefined. If already C defined use with the correct header file by including the correct header file, we can use them as it is. And also there are some functions in the maths. Whenever you are using a certain maths operations, right? Assume that whenever you are calculating the absolute value of a particular number, right? So before using the function of absolute computation, you need to include the respective header file in the C. Right? There are separate header file math.h. Header file is there in the C. Definitely you need to include the header file. Then only you can use whatever the functions defined on the math.h. So those are predefined functions. Other than that, user or as a programmer, we can define our own functions. Our functions are that, right? Custom defined functions. So we need to include every detail regarding the function. If you are developing, if you are making your own function, right? Because there are sometimes we need a function which is not in the C. C will have a function and then. So then you need to definitely develop a function. So that then user develop functions are also there, right? So then what is the benefit of using C? Right? What is the benefit of using C? The function provides modularity, right? Function provide modularity, right? So actually modularity. So if you have, so some of you may have done some programming courses, or they may have self-learned programming. So whenever you are learning about the object-oriented programming, this concept of modularity is very important in programming. So for further information, you can search the internet and be familiar with modularity. So other than treating something as a whole, right? Other than treating something as a whole, it will be very easy if we can break it into smaller parts, right? So if you are working in smaller parts means naturally you have worked with the whole part, right? Small chunks execute කිරීම අවසානයේ සම්පූර්ණ එක execute කිරීම හා සමානයි. So normally you also know that if the big task is there, whenever we look at the big task, we are fed up. Even by looking at this task, we are fed up. Oh, such a big task. But when you break that particular task into chunks, small chunks, so then it will be easy for you and even for your mind, right? It's like, so that is more like the concept of modularity. So the function provides modularity in the code, right? The function provides reusable code, right? Reusability, right? Reusability. So assume that my same example comes again. Assume that there are 100 students are there, right? So they need to add their 2 marks, but for almost all the 100 students, if you are going to write so let's say the 2 variables that you input numbers are A and B, int A and int B. So you always write for the user 1, for the student 1, A1 plus B1. For the student 1, then for the student 2, A2 plus B2. For the student 3, A3 plus B3. So likewise, you need to write 100 times. So that is time wasting. Both space and time waste. So instead of that, if you can write a function for the addition, you can reuse it. Right? Reuse it again and again. You can use the same function within your program rather than writing 100 number of codes. Right? So that is why we are saying that the function provides reusable code. Right? In large programs, debugging and editing task is easy with the use of functions. Right? So they are saying large programs. Actually, this much of large programs we are not going to look at within this code, but you know that, right? So large programs are executing even with our day-to-day life, right? Right? Large programs are there. If you get the stock market, right, there's huge programs are running. If you are considered about the software companies nowadays, they are they are involving with this large program. So then this debugging and editing task is easy with the use of functions. And then the program can be modularized into smaller parts, right? So it's like modularity, right? Same concept, smaller parts, right? The separate function, right? Separate functions can be built, can be developed according to the needs. Separate function, for example, so I have mentioned you about only addition. Let's say, other than addition, you need to write a program to execute almost all the functionalities of a calculator, right? So addition, subtraction, getting roots, get the sign constant, trigonometric evaluation, so almost everything. So you can write separate function for everything, right? You can write separate function for addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, for the trigonometric operation, getting roots, likewise. Right? Separate function independently can be developed according to the needs. Right? So these are the advantages of a function. Right? So there are two types of functions. I already mentioned this. Right? There are two types of functions in C: built-in or library functions. Right? Built-in or library functions, and then user-defined functions. Right? User-defined functions. So built-in or library functions, as I mentioned you, the system provides these functions and stored in a library. Therefore, it is also called library functions. Right? Scanf, printf, strcpy, strwr, strcmp, strln, strcat, etc. So you are very much familiar with the scanf and printf. So other things you have not yet reach within the lectures, but definitely you can search for these, and you can search and have an idea what this function, what is the task, what is the actual mission of these functions, these things. Right? To use these functions, you just need to include the appropriate C header files, as I have told you. So definitely, in order to work with scanf and printf, you need to include #include stdio.h. Right? #include stdio.h header file එක ඇතුව තමයි මේ දෙන්නත් එක්ක වැඩ කරන්න. Right? So in order to work with these, the other functions, so please search on the internet, right? So what are the header files relevant to these things? And also, as I told you, there is separate header file called conv.h, map.h. So these header files are required whenever we are using particular functions. Right? User-defined functions. These functions are defined by the user at the time of writing the program. So at the time of writing the program, users are defining their own functions. Right? Users are defining their own functions. Right? These are user-defined functions. Parts of a function, right? Parts of a function. Function prototype, function definition, and function call, right? Whenever, so although we said that, so although you simply use printf and scanf, right? Printf and scanf, right, within your program, ඔයගොල්ලෝ බොහොම පහසුවෙන් සරලව printf කියලා ලියනවා, scanf කියලා ලියනවා. You code for printf and scanf, right? So actually, when it comes to printf and scanf, so that is come under this function call. A printf scanf වෙන්නේ මෙන්න මේ function call එකේ යටතේ. මේ දෙකම ඔයගොල්ලෝ දකින්න. Right? So under the printf, what is the function prototype, or else what is the function declaration, what is the function definition? All those informations are within those header files. You did see. You never see. You never. ඔයගොල්ලෝ දැකලා වන්නේ. ඔයගොල්ලෝ බොහොම පහසුවෙන් ලියනවා printf scanf. Right? But actually, there is a function declaration, function definition are there. But whenever you are writing functions, so whenever we are coming to this category, right, user-defined function, definitely you need to write function prototype or as a function declaration. It's like variable declaration. एक आप variable declare करना हाँ समान, right? And function definition. So after completing function definition and the function prototype only, you can call the function. ඒක හරියට නිකන් ඕන තැනට අදාළ පුද්ගලයාට කතා කරනවා වගේ. Right? So it's like, so assume that in your house, yeah, now your AC is not working. ගෙදර AC එක කැඩිලා. Right? So then, in order to fix it, you need to call for a technician. Right? You need to call for a technician. Wow. So normally what are you doing? So you have a call if there's a company, separate company. So you just call the company and call for the technician for AC to fix the AC. Right? The technician comes and do the necessary adjustment or fixation. Right? It's like function call. අපි call එක දුන්නාම එයා ඇවිල්ලා වැඩේ කරලා දෙනවා. But actually, function definition, function prototype. Right? So what? So the knowledge behind the AC fixing, right? What are the equipments that he need to bring for this fixing? Right? Everything is maintained by the AC technician and the respective company. So without the company development, without those equipments, without the knowledge of the technician, right, we can't just call him and say, come and do this. If those necessary equipments are not there, if the correct knowledge regarding that is not there, right, if there is no collection of technicians are not there, we can't just call and say, you can't just call whatever the pedestrian on the road and say, please fix my AC. There should be a proper mechanism behind that. It's like that. So in the function is also like that. After you create your function, you just call the function. Function so then what you are doing, you just mention the function name with the respective variables, then function is doing the required thing because everything is properly prototyped and defined somewhere else. It's like that, right? Right? So the very important thing is correct function declaration or the function prototype and the function definition. Right? Don't think that. So when it comes to the variable declaration, variable initialization, they are very much simple. But when it comes to the function, so more complex than that. So not that much, but simply it's complex. Then variable declaration or the variable initialization. Right? So altogether, there are three parts of a function: function prototype, definition, and call. Here is an example. All right. So excuse me for a while. Right. So this is the, here you can see the function prototype and the function definition, right? Function prototype and the function definition. So here, data type, right? Data type. So data type means a normal data type, whether int, char, string. So likewise, right? Function name. So here definitely you need to have a function name. For the print, it's printf, right? For the in order to call inputs, in order to ask user inputs, we are using the other function. Likewise, so definitely there should be a function name. So normally when we are giving function name, identifiable function name, if relevant to the task of the function. If we are writing a function to addition, so we just add or addition. For the subtract, if the purpose is subtract, so we can just say subtract or subtract. Likewise, so according to the task, right? According to the task that we are hoping to do from the function, we are giving the name, identifiable name, right? Then the parameter list. And normally this parameter list means, so the variables that we want to execute within this function, right? So this is the example, right? This is the example, int addition, right? This is the data type. Right, this is the data type. This is the function name addition, right? It's now you can see it's very much like the variable declaration, right? Variable declaration, but difference is here you have round brackets, right? Normally in the variable declaration you have int, the name of the variable, and the semicolon. If it is declaration only, if it is initialization along with the declaration, int addition equal 1. So after that, the semicolon. But here, so how you can differentiate between the variable declaration and function declaration is this brackets, right? So normally, if it is a function prototype declaration, function definition, we are using brackets, right? After the brackets, we are putting semicolon, right? Right. So under the function definition, so here, they didn't mention any parameter list or so sometimes, right, at the function prototype there may not be. So this parameter list is not mandatory. The parameter list it's not mandatory. Sometimes it's there, sometimes not, right? Okay. So under the function definition, normally with the function, right, with the function just after the function, we are putting the curly braces, open it. Close curly braces, right? Open and close curly braces, right? So that means whatever. So addition, although we mention it as addition, right? Compiler is not that much intelligent to understand what is this addition. Compiler addition we know subtraction means, so you have to subtract, but compiler, it is not intelligent enough to understand addition compiler. So under the addition, under the function of addition, what we need to do, right? What we need to do, what the compiler is authorized to do, right? So all these informations are going to be these braces, curly braces. Addition කියන function එක යටතේ addition කියන integer function එක යටතේ කරන්න ඕනේ මොනවද කියන එක ලියන්නේ අපි. So within this curly braces in simply, right? So that is the function prototype and the function definition, right? Calling a function in C. So you already did this. You already have done this. Because whenever you are writing printf mean you already called a function. Then the function call like a deliver, call karala, right? So calling a function. Now you will see a full program, right? Now you will see a program. So this program is about program to illustrate, right? Program to illustrate the addition of two numbers using user-defined function, right? දැන් මෙතන යන්නේ user defined function එකක් අපි ලියනවා numbers දෙකක් add කරලා. So we are writing a program user defined function to add two numbers, right? Right. So here, now if we start from the very beginning, hash include stdr.h. The header file is there already. Right. Now can you see? Right. So normally before starting this is our main method. In main, so this is our main method. Main method. In between header file and the main method, normally we are declaring or initializing our variables. Header file එකේ පස්සේ තමයි අපි main method එක පටන් ගන්න කලින් තමයි අපි සමහර variables declare කරන්නේ. බොහෝ වෙලාවට අපි ඒවට කියන global variables. Right? Anyway, so in same situation now you can see, right, function declaration. ඒ වගේම අපි function එක declare කරන්න ඕනේ. We need to declare function. So method බලුවම, so whenever you saw this, right, you may be wondering, so what do you mean by function prototype? What do you mean by function definition? ඔබට මේ දෙකම එකයි වගේ තේරෙන්නේ. Right? You feel these two as same. එකම වගේ. Right? You feel that these two are same, but actually this is the difference. When you look at the full program, right? When you look at the full program, you will understand function declaration is like variable declaration. You have to declare the function first. In addition, so next two round brackets, open and close the round brackets. After that, you put semicolon, right? So that means for the program, you introducing, there is a function, there is an integer function called addition. Again, our function program එක හඳුන්වලා දෙනවා. මෙන්න මෙහෙම කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා. Yeah, you are introducing a program, right? Here is a function called, here is an integer function called addition in this program. So therefore, function declaration is here. Just start the header. Right. So now we are writing our normal main method. Now we are writing our normal main method. Main method scope. Now you can understand and see the main method scope. Now you can see this main. So after that we have opened this bracket and we have closed this bracket. The method in main method, right? So here, so the scope of the main method started here and ended here. So here is something else. Right here, we start, this is the starting scope of the main method, this is the end. Right, so if you look at the main method, right, if you look at the main method, right, you will understand, right, right? So within the main method, so now they have declared a variable. So can you see on top of the variable declaration, they have put a comment, make a single line comment. After two backslashes, single line comment is there, and comment says local variable definition. Right? So that means it tells you this is a local variable definition. Right? So I told you, if you are defining a variable here, right? If you are declaring a variable here, right? So here, So now I have declared a variable here. This is, I'm saying global variable definition. Right. So now you can see there are two variables here in answer, integer variable called answer. This is also an integer variable called answer, but this is a global variable definition. This is local variable definition. Later on, I'm explaining that one also, but here, since you have this comment, right? So local variable definition means if we are defining a variable, if we are declaring a variable within this scope, then so this particular variable has been declared with this open and curly bracket. This particular variable is limit. Its function, its availability, or its availability and the functionality is limit within this scope. So that means now you can see something here. So something here also there. You can't use this int answer variable here. May int answer කියන variable එක කොයි වෙලාවකවත් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට මෙතන use කරන්න බෑ. Right? Because this is local. Local to this scope, this region. Right? Local to this region. Right? Local to this region. So it's like something within Sri Lanka. Right? Within Sri Lanka, it is local. Right? There may be something else in the global where it is applicable to most of the countries in the world. Right? Then it is global. Right? Then it is global. Apigatto tel, right? Oil. Right? So normally, so the oil, so that benefit, right? Lubrication, that benefit is taken by number of countries in the world. So that is a global thing. Right? That is a global thing. But there is something which is ended into a particular country or a particular region. So then that can be used only within that context. Use karana puluwan ee context එකේ විතරයි. Likewise, so whatever the variables defined within a particular scope, for example, int answer is a local variable definition, it cannot be used here. But if you are defining a variable in this, so this is a global variable definition. Scope so this is not limited to any other scope. This is global. So this particular variable can be used here. So that means within the main method and as well as within this function, within this scope as well. And remember, now you can see here, int num1 equal 10, int num2 equal 5. So this variable declaration and initialization, int num1. So this is also a local variable definition. Make it local. So this is also local within this region. Right? This is a local. So that is the difference between local and global. But if you whatever you define here, so those are called global definitions. Global. So that can be used in different scopes. So now you have an int answer, right? You have an int answer, which is a global definition. So answer equals, now can you see now? Answer equals, this is the variable which we have declared here. Answer equal addition. So what is this addition? Now you can see. The method of the function declare. To the program we are saying, here is a function like this called addition. Right. So now you can see method of my function prototype. Right. Before going to the main method, I'll go here. Method make addition. This is what do you mean by addition? This is what happened within the addition. Make a addition mechanics. Mechanism. Right? In each addition, right? This is the function prototype. So in the addition, within that scope, what's happening? There are two variables. It is a variable called num1 and num2, and they have been initialized with 10 and 5. right? And return num1 plus num2. This is what the function called addition, right? Okay, right? This is what the function called addition. Now we go into the main method, right? We go into the main method and now we call the function. We give just call addition. Method int no data type mentioning here. We just this is the name. This is the name of the function. Make a function again addition. There are numbing kata. So in you also, in your batch also, we call your friends, right? With their names. Right? Girl Yasara, right? Boy Samit. So we are not mentioning like that. We just call Yasara and we just call Samit. Right? Likewise, we call addition. Addition right? Addition, come here. Addition, please come here and do this task. It's like that. Right? Addition. Right? Calling a function to get the addition value. Addition call karama. So so then what the compiler? So compiler go like this. Now compiler come here, come here, come here, come here. Say compiler sequentially. Now compiler comes here. Then compiler method. Answer equal addition. Addition. So now where is the addition? Initially compiler no, right? The compiler mulimba method when compiler comes here, compiler has some idea. There is a function called addition in somewhere in this program. Right? There should be a function called addition somewhere in this program. Right? So whenever compiler comes here, addition. Only then compiler no. Now he wants to call to addition. Then call karala. Then what compiler should do? Before the compiler comes here, it should search for addition. Addition initially, the compiler knows there's a function called addition in this program, but actually still until he reached to this point, the compiler does not know addition. What do you mean by addition? So then whenever he come here, addition right? He go and search for addition. Here is something called addition. Go inside, again go inside and see what it has to do. There's a number 1. There's 2 variables called num1 equal 10 and num2 equal 5. So what it asks you to add these 2 numbers. This is what is required. Num1 plus num2. So num1 plus num2 is 10 plus 5, that means 15. With that, it goes here back. Right? Right. Now it know addition num1 plus num2. So that means next, with that knowledge, it comes to the printf. So that is how this program sequence is happening, right? And the other thing, the very important thing I need to show you now, I told you now this is the function declaration, right, students? So this is the main scope. Make a main scope. This is the main function, right? Out of the main function, up to now, I think, up to now, up to now, so we have write everything within our main function. So we declare, we did every calculation, everything up to now, we have done within the main function. Oh, direct question then means addition is also global variable definition make a function definition. Yes, it's a global function definition, right? Right. So then, so I told you up to now method so up to now, so we have write every code within this main program. But now you can understand this function prototype may function right? So, right, making ADA, right? So I'm gonna make so as he asked me, so since this is a global function declaration, make a global Nisa අපිට මෙයාව මෙතන use කරන්න පුළුවන්. But by the way, if you have declared int addition කියන මේ function එක within main එක ඇතුළේ declare කරන්න අපිට මෙතන මෙයාව access කරන්න බෑ. Why? This is out of main function. මේක main එකෙන් එළියේ ඉන්නේ. Right? So this is the scope of, this is the open and close brackets of this scope. After this scope, next comes the addition function. When this is the addition function. This is what we require to do within this addition function. Right? So make a globally define correct. So here almost all the details about the addition function is here, and within our main program, what we have to do, we just need to give a call. Right? We just need to give a call. Right? We just need to call. Assume that that's why. If we have a function block like this, right? If we have a function block like this, whenever we need, we just need to give a call. Right? We do not need to write every time. Once we write this, right? Once we write this, we just give a call within our program. That can be 10 times, 100 times, or even infinite number of times. Because this is already there, we can just give a call. Right? So you may be wondering here, so you may be wondering, you want to add any number, any two numbers, yes, that is also possible. Maybe for simplicity, I have mentioned num1 equal 10 and num2 equal 5, but you can request the user, right? You can request the user to input any number, and that two numbers can be added using this addition function, right? So that is why the reusability is there. Whenever we have this one block, we can call hundreds of thousands of times within the program. I may program again. So this is the function. This is an example of user-defined function. Right? Again, I'm saying, students, I'm teaching you apart from the programming, my mainstream is maths. Right? My maths kernel is so most of the examples in the programming, they have the mathematical exposure. Right? This is examples, make it right? So I believe maths examples is easy to understand, and you can see within the last, so if you access the last paper also you will understand, right? So I'm asking to write programs for maths, right? Programs, mathematical understanding, nothing, right? Okay. So here, now when compared with this one, right, same program, we are writing a program to add two numbers, but now we compare with this program, now there will be difference in this particular program. Make it here. What is the difference? Right. So now, in the previous case, function declaration in addition, make parameters move there. So within this open and close round brackets, right? Within this open and close round brackets, nothing is there inside. But look at this. In num1, in num2. Right? So then there are three local variables have been defined and initialized in answer in num1 equal 10, in num2 equal 5. Right? So if you go to the function, int addition ඇතුලේ int A and int B විතරයි තියෙන්නේ. Nothing is there. Right. Then addition. Sorry. Students here, remember that there's one part is missing here. Int addition, int A and B. Sorry. So here is open bracket. So within the closing bracket part is hidden here. Make hide the so actually, so within the open bracket, after the open bracket here, int A plus int B is there. The method in passing A plus int B. Right. A plus B. Method. So after that, closing bracket should be there, right? Closing bracket should be there. Right? So then, right, when we call the function, so now here again within the main method, right, within the main method, this is the within the scope of the main method, it's asked addition, call for the function addition. So num1 and num2. So here num1 and num2 is there under the declaration num1 and num2. Because num1 is 10, num2 is 5. So initially, I think you can remember. Right? Initially, what happened? Within this function itself, num1 equal 10, num2 equal 5. Right? So whenever we call addition, right? Whenever we call addition, it always output what? 15. Why? Within this function definition, they have stated num1 is 10 and num1 is 5. So that is sort of a disadvantage because using this function addition, may addition කියන function එකේ කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ 10 5 එකතු කිරීම විතරයි. Right? We will be able to add only 10 and 5. Right? So when you go here, right? Now this is somewhat generalized. Right? This is much more specialized. That means the addition of two numbers is 15 කියන එක තමයි මෙතනින් අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම output වෙන්නේ. But so actually if we are declaring a function, right, our ultimate purpose is not always to add 10 and 5. අපිට හැම වෙලාවෙම අපි දීලා තියෙන numbers දෙකක් එකතු කිරීම නෙමෙයිනේ අපේ intention එක. So we need to go beyond that, right? As I told you, so the function, it's good if your function is capable of adding any two numbers given by the user. User දෙන ඕනම number එක add කරන්න පුළුවන් නම් ඒකන improvement, right? So then, so if you look at this code, the second code, now you can see, right? Now the function is much more generalized, right? Function just add A and B, right? So whenever we call addition, because within the function අපි කියන්නේ int A කියන්නේ මේකයි, int B කියන්නේ මේකයි. So within the function we are not saying A is this number, B is this number. That is much more generalized now. Whatever A and B, the function need to add. Right. So now within the main program, they have said num1 is 10 and num2 is 5. So whenever we call addition, hello, please add these numbers within the brackets. It's num1 and num2 is mentioned. So in previous case, there is no such variable parameters are within the call. Call එක ඇතුලේ අපි මොකද parameter specify කරේ නැහැ. Because why? Because මෙයා හැම වෙලාවෙම 10 5 එකතු කරලා තමයි දෙන්නේ. But here now it is much more generalized because we need to add, right? Here the function is ready to add any two numbers. That function is ready ඕනම දෙයක් add කරන්න. So therefore, when we give a call, we need to specifically say add num1 and num2. What is num1 and num2? Num1 is 10, num2 is 5. This is one step improvement. Make a step improvement. Right? But if you are go beyond this, making it hard, if you are go beyond this, you can ask 2 inputs from the user. So here is also still the user, the programmer has hard coded 10 to num1 and 5 to 2. Hard code right? Program num1 num2 but here when compared with the previous case, previous program flexibility because now the function is capable of adding any 2 numbers hard coded in the program. Program hard code right? Initially it add only 10 and 5. Then here if we put 12 and 5, yes, it gives 17. Still hard coded, but if you go beyond this, you can ask 2 inputs from the user, and that particular input can be added by calling this function. So that is another step forward than this. Right? Likewise, you can have your own program, you can adjust your own program according to your need. Right? Right. C library functions. Right. The C library functions are provided by the system and stored in library. Right. The C library function is called the inbuilt function in C programming. To use inbuilt function in C, you must include their respective header files which contain prototypes and data definitions of the function. I'll make a few up. Right. C library functions, library functions are there, user-defined functions are there. So within the library functions like printf, scanf, right, they are already defined. They are already defined after the call like you need just write printf. Printf can you call printf. You just call scanf to do, right? But almost all the definition, what is actually printf, what is actually scanf is defined within the respective header files. So before you use the library functions with your program, you need to include the respective header file on your program. So that is already mentioned. So now, C program to demonstrate the use of library functions. Example. So as I told you, all my programs are much more towards maths. Right? C program to demonstrate the use of library functions. Right? So here, now students, right? Now you can say normally we are including #include stdr.h. That's what we are including. Right? So what is the purpose? To include printf, scanf, and other few things. Right? Right. But other than that, now can you see there are 2 more header files has been included in the program. So those are ctype.h and nat.h. Right. So why is this? So if you go, so now these are library functions. The main library functions. So library functions we just include the respective header file and we just call. We are not defining, we are not including any prototype function definitions. We include the respective header file, we will call. That's all. Right. So in now, within the main method, they have declared how many variables? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 variables have been declared and initialized. Right. So integer 3 variables are there, float variables are there, 2 double variables are there. Right. So now can you see abs is a library function. Pre-built library functions. Pre-built library functions. Sine, cos, exponential, logging, power, hammer predefined. Right? Predefined. Right? So you just need to give a call karala adala variable. So you need to find the absolute value of what? Okay, absolute I variable, so that is already initialized and declared. Sorry, declared and initialized. Right, I is an integer variable and initial value it has is -10. So you need to take the absolute value of -10. Red, what is red here? Red, it's a floating variable. So you need to get the sign now, right? Which is 1.43. Likewise, so power. So if you need to get the power, you need to have the base as well as the what power එක ගන්නවා නම් base එකක් උන exponent එකක් උන. Right. So here 3. So 3 is the base. D1. So when you are declaring calling for the power function, so within the function you need to include 2 parameters. First one is base, second one is exponent. Either D1 to the power D2. Right? And then C variable scope. C variable scope. Right? A scope is a region of program. Right? A scope is a region of program. And a scope of variables refers to the area of the program where the variables can be accessed after its declaration. Same thing. So I explained this actually. Scope is a region of program and the scope of the variables refers to the area of the program where the variables can be accessed after its declaration. Where the variables can be accessed after its declaration. Variable එකක් declare කරායින් පස්සේ කොහෙද අපිට යාව use කරන්න පුළුවන් access කරන්න පුළුවන් කියන එක තමයි මේ මේකේ කියන්නේ, right? So here if I go the very first example, so this is the function declaration. This is the variable declaration. Again, this is the variable declaration. Make it here, so where can be accessed after declaration? Now we have already declared this one. Now we have already declared this one. Now we have already declared this one. So after declaring, what are the areas that we have the permission to use that particular variable? So within the main method, if we have declared int answer, so that means we are allowed to, or we have the permission to use the variable, integer variable called answer within this main method only. So that means we have been restricted to this area. So here also, if we are declaring a variable called num1 and num2 within this scope function, within this function, so that means we are allowed to use num1 and num2 within this scope only. So that is why they are saying local variable definition, local variable definition. Since here function declaration is here, now you can see that my addition කියන එක ඔයගොල්ලෝ දකිනවා. Addition, since it's a global declaration, it's a global වෙච්ච නිසා අපි addition කියන එක මෙතන use කරා. So here out of the main method, so here we use int addition, and also within the main method අපි ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැතුව addition වලට call කරනවා. So without any hesitation, we call addition come here කියලා කතා කරන්න පුළුවන්. මොකද එයා globally declare කරලා තියෙන්නේ. So therefore, we can use the addition within the main and out of the main as well. In C, every variable defined in scope. Right, you can define scope as section or a region of a program where a variable has its existence. Moreover, that variable cannot be used to access beyond that region. A region can beyond to use karana bag. Again, I'm telling you, you can't use num1 and num2 within the main method and also outside the main method, right? You can't use int answer with, outside the main method. You can use it only within the main method. In C programming, variable declared within a function is different from variable declared outside the function. The variable can be declared in 3 places. In C, variable declared within a function is different from variable declared outside of the function. Right? The variable can be declared in 3 places. These are inside a function or a block. Inside a function or a block, local variable. As an example, go. Local variables inside a function, main a local, int num1, num2 local, right? Int answer local. Second one, out of all functions, global variables, out of all functions. So this is a function. Main method function. Method so out of all so not within here, out of all here in addition. So global. Out of everything. In function parameters, formal parameters. In function parameters, students, take an example. In our second example, can you see? In function parameters, in addition, in num1, num2, right? So those are the 3 places: local variables, global variables, formal parameters, right? Formal parameters. So now you have seen all these 3 types, 3 positions. What do you mean by local variable? What do you mean by global variable? What do you mean by formal parameters? Again, they're explaining local variables. Right, local variables that declare within a function block and can be used only within the function is called local. We already said that. Local scope in the block scope. All these locally scoped statements are written and enclosed within left curly braces and right curly braces. So you are already seen that. Right? May occur local level curl brackets. Right, here also, with these 2 curly braces, int answer. With these 2 curly braces, in num1 and num2. So it can be said that variables that are declared in a block can be accessed within that specific block and all the other inner blocks of the block, but those variables cannot access outside the block. Example. Right, in main, so with now you have only the main method. The main method. Within this main method, they have local variable definitions and initializations. Local variable defined integer x, y, z, 3 variables are coming. Integer variables are coming and they have been initialized with x equal 20, y equals 30, z equals plus 1. So this is a local variable definition and those things can be used within this block only. Global variables. Variables that are declared outside of a function block can be accessed inside the function is called global variables. Variables that are declared outside the function block and can be accessed inside the function is called global. So whenever we defining global variables, right, we can use them in within the function blocks as well. Again, මේ වගේ එළියට අපි declare කරනවා නම් globally declare කරන එක. So we can use anywhere. No problem. Addition. So it's a global. So it is within the main method and also within the function as well. Global scope. Global variables are defined. Yes. Okay. This is an example. Same example which we have saw for the local variable definition. Example edit කරනවා. Now can you see? So within the main block, now initially after coming, all our x, y, z are within the main method, within the main function block. Right? X, y, z is been declared and initialized here. Now look at this example. Now then balanna මෙතනදී, right? Only x, y is locally defined and initialized. X, y විතරක් locally defined කරා initialize කරා, but z goes out. Then z globally declare කරලා තියෙනවා. Right now, the variable called z, integer variable called z is globally defined outside the main method. But it's same as in the previous example, we have used the z within the main method. So in the previous program also, what we have done, so x, y, z, all x, y, z 3 is there, x is equal to 20, y is equal to 30, z is equal x plus 1. Since it is inside, we can use inside. Although z go out, z since like a global, so although it goes out, it can be used within the function blocks as well. Right? So here z is equal x plus y. No matter, this is not wrong. This is again correct because z is global. Right? Right, global variable initialization. After defining a local variable, the system or compiler won't be initializing any value to it. After defining a local variable, the system or compiler won't be initializing any value to it. You have to initialize it by yourself. Right? If it is a local variable declaration, definitely you need to initialize it with your own value. It is considered good programming practice to initialize variable before using. Right? So whereas in contrast, global variable get initialized automatically by the compiler as when defined. Here is how based on the difference. Okay, nama keyword name. So what do you mean by variable declaration, students? Variable declare karna kiyala kiyanne mokada? I'm always telling you to think like it's like, so we are allocating a namespace in the temporary memory of our computer, right? So variable declaration means we are allocating a temporary namespace for that particular to do some particular task. අපි අපේ පරිගණකයේ කම්පියුටර් එකේ යම්කිසි తాවකාලික මතකයක් වෙන් කර ගැනීමක්, it's like a bucket. So we are allocating a space bucket, right? So for the variables, let's say x and y. So what they are telling is, if we are defining them locally, right? If we are defining them locally, definitely we need to initialize it with our own value. Then balanna, right? Definitely we need to initialize. So these are two local variables x and y. So then we declare them, again we initialize them. X20, y30. But what they are telling is, but whenever we define a variable globally, right, it is automatically initialized with these values. අපි globally මොකක් හරි variable එකක් declare කරොත් ඒක මෙන්න මේවයින් automatically initialize වෙනවලු. Right? For the integers, the initial default value is 0. So that means if we have, we have globally defined the variable z, and automatically we do initialize velocity. But for these two, it's not like that because they are local variables, right? So let's go to the other data types. If we have globally defined a character type variable, so this is initialized within single quote /0. If we declare float type variable, 0 is automatically initialized. For the double also, 0 is automatically initialized. If it's a pointer, null is initialized. So later on, we'll understand what do you mean by pointer. Right? So, but it's a good programming practice, right? So I think throughout this lecture, we have saw some other good programming practices. Likewise, it automatically initialize or not. So although it is automatically initialized or not, so it's a good programming practice. It's like good habit to initialize a variable whenever you declare. හොඳයි ඔයගොල්ලෝ initialize declare variable එක declare කරා නම් ඒක initialize කරගත්තා නම්. It's a good practice. So anyone, can you name another good practice in the programming? One which we have discussed within the lecture. තව එකක් කියන්න බලන්න. Okay. Constant variables in capital letter. Yes, good. Right? Yeah. So likewise, this is also a good practice, right? So whenever you declare a variable, it's good if you can initialize it also. Compile it. Although it's a global variable, global එකක් වුණත්, right? Yeah. අපි අපේ value එකක් දාලා initialize කරගත්තට කමන්නේ because you know that, right? Declaring a variable, right? Declaring a variable කියන්නේ just we are allocating empty buckets in our random access memory of our computer. So rather than keeping the buckets empty, you can have a value in it. Because you know that. So whatever the values we are put here, whenever we need to put another value to x, we can remove one. So these are buckets. Right? These are buckets which are holding temporary values. So it's good if, so whenever you create the bucket, put something inside, then whenever you want, you can remove it. Yes, sure. But at the starting point, right? Whenever you are making the bucket, please put something else. Don't put it as empty, especially for the local variables you need to initialize. Although the global variables, they have their own initialization values. C recursion. This is again very, very important point. C recursion. Definitely questions in the final exam paper. C is a powerful programming language having capabilities like an iteration of set of statements n number of times. The same concept can be done using functions also, right? Then also now you have done looping. Looping kara. C loops. So after you have learned the C decision making, so you learn loops. So what are the loops that you have learned? Students, what are the loops that you have learned up to now? Okay, Anna? What are the loops? While තියෙනවා කොහොමද? Do while for, right? Okay, while, do while, for. So those three types that you have learned, right? Right, you have learned. So you saw there, if you want to run something repetitively, right? If you want to run something repetitively run now, right? You can use the loops. right? You can use the loops. Right? For example, I'm asking you to print all the prime numbers in between 1 and 100, or else to print almost all the even numbers from 1 to 100. So for that, you can use a loop, right? Likewise, we can do using functions, repetitive tasks. So in functions, we call it as recursion. Function recursion. Remember that, students, in your final exam, so I might be asking to do the same task using function and also recursion. task program function loops that means recursion loops. So then you should be capable enough to do that. Right. C is a powerful programming language having capabilities like an iteration of set of statements a number of times. The same concept can be done using functions also. In this here you will be learning about the recursion concept and how it can be used in C program. What is recursion? Recursion can be defined as a technique of replicating or doing again an activity in self-similar way, calling itself again and again, and the process continues till the specific condition reaches. The function which makes this possible called recursive function. අපි කියනවා මේ recursion කියලා කියන්නේ අතර recursive function කියන එකේ තේරුම, right? Recursive function or as the recursion. So මෙතන මේක තමයි important, right? Replicating or doing, right? Doing again an activity in self-similar way, calling itself again. තමන්ටම call කර නැවත ගෙන්නනවා වගේ දෙයක් තමයි recursion. Right, doing again an activity in a self-similar way, calling itself again and again, and the process continues till the specific condition reaches. Functioning, which makes this possible, is called recursive function. We'll go to an example. Right. So I think you have learned in maths factorial. Factorial, you know, right? Factorials. Students, what is the factorial of 3? What is the factorial of 3?
1 3.
What is the factorial of 3?
6.
What is the factorial of 3? What is the factorial of 3 is 6. Good. Factorial of 4? Factorial of 4?
24. 24.
Good. 24. So those who don't know about factorials, 1 multiplied by 2, 1 multiplied by 3, 1 multiplied by 4. Right. So in Sinhala Manghana nama Pramaropita. Right. Pramaropita. Unfortunately, I don't know the Tamil name. So factorial of 3 can mehema is equal 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1. So normally we are writing from that number to 1. Right. So if it is 5 factorial now, 5 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1. Right. So factorial is a very common example coming under recursive function and also palindromes. Right. C program allows you to do such calling function within another function, recursion. But when you implement this recursion concept, you have to be cautious in defining an exit or termination condition from this recursive function, or else it will continue to run infinite loop. So make sure the condition is set within your program. The method of the recursion is so again and again calling itself. Right. Q1A recursion right? Here what they are saying. Recursion means self-similar way calling itself again and again. Taman call karaganna deyak kiya. Factorial wala kohomada එහෙම වෙන්නේ? තමන්ටම call කරගන්න. So actually, right, 5 factorial means what? 5 factorial කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? 5 factorial 5 factorial කියන්නේ මොකද්ද ළමයි? 5 times 4 factorial. Right. Again we can write 5 times 4 times 3 factorial. Again we can write 5 times multiply 4 times multiply 3 times multiply 2 factorial. 5 times multiply 4 times multiply 3 times multiply 2 times multiply 1. So calling itself, calling yourself again and again, right? 5 factorial 5 times 4 factorial, 5 times 4 times 3 factorial, 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 factorial. Factorial එක තමන්ව actually call කරගන්න, right? So however they are saying, so during this journey, it is very important to limit where to stop. Stopping criteria එක දාන්න නැත්නම් මෙයා infinitely run වෙනවා. Right? So it goes until infinity. Example, I think yeah, factorial example again. Right. So here now you can see two header files are there. Hash include stdi.h, hash include conio.h. Right. Says why conio.h? Because we are using some certain functions, right? Predefined functions, right? So here now you can see, right? This is the function, recursive function. Metan තමයි recursive function එක තියෙන්නේ. Then make a normal function එකක්, but in advance, this is a normal function. In advance, this is recursive function. Recursion. Right? So function එකට තව added IC එකක් තමයි recursive function. Function is so here in this case a function is like a cake and now it's a icing cake. Right. So here now you can see, students, this is the function. This is the function block, and this is the main method. So now you may be wondering, initially main method is on the top and function is on the bottom. That can be. Main method just after header files, right? There is no such hard and fast rule where the main method should be come after the header files. No like that, because main method is also a function, also a method. So this is also a function. It doesn't matter, they can swap. But they are two separate components, right? Then that's only the difference. Okay, right. So now, in fact, right? So actually, when calculated the factorial, right? When calculated the factorial, so this is the function. In fact, right? In fact, right? If f equals 0 or int f, so in fact කියන function එක ඇතුලේ, so the parameter is int f. This is the function, right? So we did the function. This is the function. So we did the function declaration. So there is int f, the parameter. If f exactly equals 0 or f exactly equals 1, return 1. In almost all the other cases, f multiplied fact f minus 1. So actually first thing is you need to understand, I'm asking, right? I'm asking. Fact here, what is the function name? Students, what is the function name here? Aman, what is the function name here? What is the function name here? Fact. Right? Function name is fact. So I'm asking, right? Function name is fact. Right? So if you look at the main method, f is equal 12, int f is equal 12. Right? What that means, what they need is they need to find the factorial of 12. The factorial of 12 is fact f. Right? Fact f. 12 times 12 multiplied by with the multiplication. 12 multiplied fact f minus 1. Fact f minus 1 kya lagya? What is f? 12. 12 minus 1 kya 11. 11 factorial. හරිනේ 12 වැඩි කිරීම 11 factorial එක. Right? So then what is 11 factorial? 11 multiplied by 11 minus 1, 10 factorial. What is 10 factorial? 10 multiplied by 9 factorial. So this goes up to 1. So here what they are saying, right? Right, there is some point, right? So this goes until what? We need to find the 12 factorial. 12 multiplied by 11 factorial. This is the first step. Right? But so when it comes to the 11 factorial, 11 factorial again, 11 multiplied by 10 factorial. 12 Likewise, this goes up to මේක යනවා දිගටම ගිහිල්ලා යම්කිසි තැනක් එනවා 12 multiplied by 11 multiplied by 10 multiplied by 1 factorial. Right. So මෙහෙම ගිහිල්ලා අවසානයේ 1 factorial. එතකොට දැන් මෙතන කියන්නේ if you find f is equal 0 or so මේ double slash double straight lines කියලා කියන්නේ o f එක බිඳුව වුණත් හරි එක වුණොත් හරි return 1. So 1 factorial කියන්නේ 1. මෙතනට එහාට ගියොත් so that means 12 multiplied by 11 multiplied by 10. So ගිහිල්ලා multiplied by 1 multiplied by 0 factorial out. Right, then make condition දෙක දෙනවා. If you receive f is equal 0 or f is equal 1, return 1. එක return කරා. So that means, so this is equal 12 multiplied by 11 multiplied by 10 multiplied by. So although it goes, that correctly දන්නා මේක අන්තිමට ගිහිල්ලා බිඳුව වුණොත් මේකේ තේරුම මේ ඔක්කොම බිඳුවෙන් වැඩි කරලා බිඳුවයි කියන එක නෙමෙයි 0 වෙනකොට so in place of 0 written 1. So then this gives this particular answer. මේක තමයි answer එක 47,916,00. This much of number is 12 factorial. අවසානයේ මේ conditions දෙකන තමයි මේක. So otherwise you go in normal procedure, but if you reach at the end, if you reach 0, f is equal 0, f is 0 factorial or 1 factorial, so return 1, not 0. Right? So that is that. So this is the function, recursion function, and here this is the main method. So print the factorial of 12. Here they call, my main method එක ඇතුලේ call කරා factor. අපි function එකට call කරා. Right. So this is the example of factorial, right? This is the example of actually recursion function, right here. This is how to calculate factorial. 4 factorial, 7 factorial, 1 factorial. Right. C storage classes is the next step, but not going to continue. It's now 9:53, 5:53. So at 10 I think you are having another lecture. So thank you for being with me. So I'll upload the lecture note, please. Now on you can send me the